Hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
Welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show and a Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you had a great New Year's Eve and a pretty good New Year's Day. It was a little chilly here in New York. I felt bad for those people out in Times Square. It was cold and it started to rain and rain and rain. But you know what? When you're young and having a party, nothing seems to bother you. I got to get back into that mode, but my body just won't let me. But Happy New Year to everybody. We got a great show tonight. Jonas Hansson from Silver Mountain is our guest. The month is going to start off a little slow. We have one guest a week on, and we're going to keep building it up like we usually do have two. The industry's kind of shut down for December. They're just starting to pick up again, and interview requests are starting to flow, and I'm digging up some old people from some of the classic underground bands of the 80s. So we're going to have a great 2025. I just say that number, and it boggles my mind because I feel like it was just yesterday that it was 1982 or 83, and I was at Lemoore, and seeing all these bands that we play in the show for the first time. It goes by in the blink of an eye. So when you're 15, you can't wait to be 16. When you're 16, you can't wait to turn 21 to go out drinking. And 21 turns into 30, then 40, then 50, and before you know it, you're an old man like me. But you know what? The metal's what keeps us young. Right there, Tension, One Nation Underground. Tom Gaddis's band had him on the show for one of our anniversary programs. He's like a scientist in Los Alamos, like where they developed the atomic bomb. And he had to leave the facility to do the interview because they can't get cell phone reception in there for some reason. But Tom's a great guy. I know they're going to be doing. He's going to be doing something. I keep it true. I think he's playing on one of the tributes, but I would love for him to be able to get Tension back together as an active band. I know it's secondary to him these days. He's got a job and a career, but even like just do some festivals and one-off shows. Tension were one of my favorite bands back. They started out as Deuce in 1978, and they played for about 8 or 9 years under that name. They put out one record back in 19. I don't even remember when it was. I think it was 81. They put out a single called "I'm Saved," and then a compilation came out in '97. They changed the name to Deuce from Deuce to Tension about 1985, and they put out one record, Breaking Point, which just comes after. My friend Jim Powell released a great compilation in 1997 called Epitaph. So if you're looking to get like the kind of definitive, I guess vinyl or the CD of Tension, pick up Epitaph. It was really great. All right, well, it's said that we're starting out the new year in a sad way, but Russ North, singer from Clovenhoof, passed away this week. Russ was in and out of the band for maybe a dozen or so years. He was in for a couple of records and out, then back in, then in, then out, then in and out. But he passed away, and he made a great couple of albums with Clovenhoof back in the day. And, the last time I had Lee on the show, I was telling him, I said, it's amazing because anytime you change the singer of a band, it's difficult, because fans latch onto the voice, the vocals. It's always hard to move away from a singer. I mean, it worked for AC/DC, it worked for Iron Maiden, it worked for a few other bands. It seems to be more common today than it was back in the 80s. It was really a risk to kind of change up the lead singer and the vocalist. So Cloverleaf have had many singers over the years. I told this, even though you've had a lot of different singers and the sounds have changed a little bit, I felt like they were chapters in a book. Every chapter was a great read. Even though they had multiple singers that came in, every era of Cloverleaf was fantastic. And now this new one with Harry the Tyrant Conklin singing, I hope this lasts a long time because the album was just amazing. I'm hoping to get more with Harry in the band. They're out there playing festivals. When we had Harry on the show last summer, he said he loves it. He's so thrilled to be in Cloverleaf, besides Jack Banza and a few other bands, he just loves it. So hopefully we'll get more from them, and I'm looking forward to it. But I'm going to play Reach for the Sky right now, featuring Russ North on vocals. I'm playing this because last week I saw Christian's band Change the Leather, and they did a cover of it, and I haven't been able to get it out of my head since then. So for Russ, here you go.
sea, crossing desert sands, armies plunder the land. Captains cry for freedom, chained without reason, enslaving a man. Painted peace, we rage in glory, watching battles without worry. They live for the gold. People die with their families just because they pray to their God. They treasure their soul. Gods of power, rage like thunder. Gods of wealth, wage war. Kings of fury, rule the people. Chains of Babylon, soldiers roar. Fleets of hope awaits our salvation. Swarmed in masses, the time has come. Wicked ruler falls from power. Lions righteous will be done.
Code PEC, code word admittance, access to all data concerning planet Earth control. First step of PEC consists of testing Android prototypes in different stages of 20th century. 38, Spain resistance. 44, France Allied forces. 54, Korea US Marines. 79, Afghanistan Mujahideen. 81, Falkland Island cruise missile unit. End of breakdown.
All right, Christian wanted to hear Scanner this week. He actually wanted to hear Silver Mountain, but we had a whole bunch of Silver Mountain tunes lined up for our guest tonight, so he changed it over to Scanner. That was Across the Universe off their first record, I believe. Before that, Attacker with Captives of Babylon. I always play everything off the first Attacker record and anything new that they come out with. I always forget everything in between. Not that I forget it, just that I'm always so focused on that first record because it is one of my all-time favorite albums. But the second coming was a killer record with John Leone on vocals. He passed away in '94. Tom D'Amico was on guitar. Jim Mooney was out of the band at that point in time, along with Bob Mitchell. Pat Marinelli was like the main songwriter for the group at that point in time, and him and Jim wrote most of the songs when they were together. But Attacker has so many great records that came out in between. And just like Cloverhoof, there are many different eras of the band with different singers that have come and gone. I love what they've been doing with Bobby on vocals. You can't beat the stuff with Bob Mitchell. He was the original singer. But, Bobby led the lungs. They're doing a great job with him. And I'm glad that they kind of worked things out over the last 2 years to get him back into the band again. There was a little falling out, and it just wasn't going to happen. They brought Skiing from Faith Factor to sing for them. He did a single. And that was about it. So they got Bobby back, and I'm happy for that. Let me see. Do we have enough time for? Yeah, we got enough time for another set of music before the interview, so we'll do that. Well, I guess you already saw the news. Witch Killer are back together. There's a whole new lineup. Kurt Phillips, the mainstay of the band, playing guitar. James Del Bridges on vocals. He's from Lycanthro, so if you're familiar with Lycanthro, you kind of know what he sounds like and what he's going to sound like in Witch Killer. It's going to be amazing. Dwayne Chaos is on bass. Mike Frazier's on drums. They're going to be playing at the Headbangers Open Air Festival in Italy. I can't wait for them to get back together and do more shows. There are going to be local shows, well, local to the U.S. and Canada, in that area, before they go overseas. They're going to have a great record out, I'm sure, with this new lineup. Kurt told me about this. We were on the phone talking in the summer. I think it was like June or July. He called me up. We were talking about this. I had to keep quiet about it because they weren't allowed to make an announcement until the new year when the festival made the announcement about who's on. And there's a lot of great bands on that festival this year. I'm happy that they kind of stepped outside the box a little bit and went with bands that don't usually get picked for festivals. That's what I think a lot of festivals have to start doing. Blades of Steel just announced a few out of Milwaukee. They just announced a few of the bands that are going to be on that. And he was saying that he doesn't know if there are going to be any major type of bands on there, well-known bands, because it's a money issue. Which is hard. A lot of these promoters, they have to lay out a lot of money out of their own pocket for these bands, and they pray to God that they can recoup it at the door, just to break even, not even lose more than a couple of $100. I think they would be happy if they only lost a few $100. So it's hard. You have Legions of Metal that announced their festival. They got quite a few good bands on there so far. I think it's the first day they announced. More will be coming soon. Last year, Bob seemed to go a different route. He went with a lot of the smaller bands, the local bands, the up-and-coming bands, and he sold the place out. So I guess that's what people want. So maybe you got to give the people what they want, I guess, right? It's the only way to do things in this business. But talking about Witch Killer, I can't wait for Kurt to get some of those shows going. I'm going to try to get to one of them if I can. I love Witch Killer. Never got to see them live back in the day. A lot of people didn't, so that'll be a first for me. So let's do some Witch Killer right now. Cry Wolf.
Diana, the silver queen, ratchet on, find the scene, lyrical, assaults the nerve, expose the art, Jesus
to send that song out to my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law. That's Original Sin, Bitches from Hell. Before that, Merciful Fate with Leave My Soul Alone. That was actually a Danger Zone song, an earlier song from one of King Diamond's bands. Yeah, people called it Leave My Soul Alone. It got known as Running Free. And a whole bunch of other songs. It popped up, some of the riffs popped up on Merciful Fate stuff later on. But I love that Return of the Vampire album. I remember picking up a bootleg of it in Tower Records back in the 80s. It had like a lot of unreleased songs by Merciful Fate. I don't know who put it together, if it was done by somebody or a label, but it was pretty cool to have. And I still got that sitting in my collection. As a matter of fact, I played it the other day because I want to thank my wife who bought me a brand new stereo for Christmas. My record player of like almost 50 years finally gave in and just kicked the bucket. My Sony linear tracking turntable. So she bought me a whole new system, which I love, and I've been playing all my albums this week because I had to catch up. Plus, she picked me up a lot of vinyl records that came out over this year that I hadn't had a chance to pick up on my own yet. So thank you very much for the gift, my love. And then we started things off with Witch Killer and Cry Wolf. So don't forget, keep your eye out on the Witch Killer page, Kurt Phillips page. There's going to be a lot coming from the band in 2025. All right, let's get to some Silver Mountain before the interview. Here is 1789, and we're going to talk to Jonas right after this. So stick around. such a big fan of Silver Mountain. I mean, I think it was 1981, maybe the beginning of 1982. That was before we had computers and we actually wrote letters to people and we had pen pals and friends all over the world. And somebody sent me a copy of your demo tape and I was just blown away by what I was hearing. I mean, to me, there was nothing else out there like that at the time. And it was just incredible, the music you were creating so early on in the heavy metal scene.
Yeah, I agree. Now, well, the thing was, I was spitting out music at that time. I was 20 or something. And I just started getting good at the guitar because I was practicing every day. All the time, and I was spitting out songs but I didn't like, I came from Deep Purple, Zeppelin, Cooper, and Sabbath and all that in the 70s, but I wanted something more. They weren't heavy enough. So that's why, but then when the punk came, Sex Pistols, that helped a lot. That was like, in a way, what I was looking for, a more aggressive attitude, but with the hard rock music. Somehow, and that created Silver Mountain somehow.
Because when people hear the music, at that point in time, like it says, we all came from that, well, at least I came from that generation like you did, of Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and bands like that. So to hear something like this, I mean, it had a little bit of everything, but like when you listen to it, you say, where did you come up with this sound from? I know it just came out of your head when you were writing, but it has no resemblance to any of those bands as a whole.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from. It's just various things. Living in Malmö, a little city, or the third biggest in Sweden, but it was kind of working class city and not much happening, and all we did was like going to London and go into this little record stores to see if we can find something fun to listen to. I was there and I found Rainbow bootlegs, and I actually found one that was signed by Richie, Coast Powell, and Dio. Bootleg that was signed by them, and I still have it. I bought it. It was cool, and so that whole. The whole life back then was just music and rock and roll and party and stuff like that, in a way, late 70s. But I was looking for something extra, and I just, I just wrote songs and they came out like that, Sometimes inspired by the other bands, and a lot of times just a thing, combination of various things. I've always been inspired by visuals as well, It's like when I went to Austria to skiing, and I was on the top of a mountain, I could hear music in my head, and it was like big music, and I go, oh yeah, I need to do this when I get home. What was your question again? Where did music come from?
Yeah, because it was such a unique sound at the time. Like, you say, well, I'm influenced by Deep Purple, so maybe I'm going to sound a little bit like Deep Purple, but you did not sound like any of the bands that influenced you at the time.
Yeah. Well, I think that was my just my innovative persona that kicked in somehow. I don't know. I just did it. I just wrote the songs and I was spitting them out. And when we did those demos, we always had like 30, 40 songs to record. And a lot of times when we did the demo, we go, okay, these 10 or these 15 are the best, so let's release that. Then we still had all the other songs because but it just came natural to me, because I've been into music since I was a little kid, so I guess it was just natural. We never made it big though, which is kind of weird. I thought we would, but I think maybe it was too early. We were a little bit too early with that kind of thing. People didn't get it, I guess.
I know. I think that was the problem. Is that a lot of times the people that innovate music, do something different, something unique, they kind of get left behind because it's not the world's just not ready for them. And when another band comes along doing the same thing, they're just there at the right time. It's just a matter of being in the right time in the right place. I think with music, but you just created so much great sound back then. And I mean, was it difficult trying to form a band in Malmo, Sweden? You said it's a small town, so is it hard to find 3, 4 other people to play with that sort of have the same vision as you?
There were a few people here, but not many. But we inspired a lot of people. When we started playing, we played at like the youth centers and different things like that, small clubs, and they started to get packed. People showed up, and it got more and more. And all the little kids, they go, "Oh, I want to do like Jonas do," like I did with Richie Blackmore. Because when I heard Made in Japan, I felt that's what I want to do. I want to kick ass and play guitar and be a cool guy dressed in black, kind of.
Yeah.
But then it developed because I liked Purple and I liked Rainbow more when they came. Especially with Dio, it was just so good, And then people always ask me, well, Silver Mountain, that comes from a Rainbow song. Yes, in a way, because it was me and Morgan who played on the single we did, and another guy, Jens, was his name. He was a bass player, temporary for a month. But we were good friends. And he said, we're looking for a bass player. So he said, can I play the bass? I said, sure, if you can, do what you. And he was okay. He played a little while. I think he did one gig with us. But we were sitting down and said, okay, we need a name for a band. So we were sitting there, okay, let's write down names. So it was like Silver Mountain, Stormbringer, Burn, all cool names, you could figure out, a lot of Deep Purple names.
Yeah.
But there were other stuff too, I had a band called Fire, and that was also in that list. But anyway, we made this list, and we had maybe like 200 bands, band names. And then we're sitting down, okay, let's find out what the band name is going to be. So we just go, Stormbringer, now. Fire, now. Hallelujahs, or whatever, now. I scratched them out, and at the end, Silver Mountain was the last name standing. So we said, okay, Silver Mountain it is,
And it worked out for you because that's what everybody knows today. And you think about the first record, Shaking Brains, that had that classic lineup of the band that everybody came to know and be a part of. I mean, 10 great songs on that record. You were singing on it. But then as the years went on, you had Universe came out, Roses and Champagne, each with 2 different singers. I think Krista was on Universe and Jonas was on Roses and Champagne. Was it difficult keeping a singer or maintaining a singer? Did you not want to sing on the follow-up records?
Well, after the first record, I realized there was a lot of good singing. I want to have a good singer that could sing, and I could just play guitar and be the guitar player, And but there were no good ones. That's why I was singing on the first one, because I couldn't find a good singer here. No one was into singing metal. It's just the way it was, and. But then we found Krister, and we thought, no, he sounds okay, let's try him on this record. And it took it in a little different direction. But then later on, after that record, he thought he was famous and wanted to go solo after we've been to Japan. And I said, that's not right. Let's do another album. Let's make it big. And then you can do whatever you want. But they'll do it now because we've done one record, one tour, or 2 records after Universe. But he decided he wanted to go solo, and that was a big mistake, I think. And after that, we had a couple of different singers we tried out, and I couldn't really find that good one, like Dio. I wanted a singer like that, and Krister was the closest, I think, for Universe at the time. And then on the next one, the Rose and Champagne when Johan is singing. He was pretty good in an AOR band. And they were doing like Foreigner, Toto, and stuff like that. And Stadin, he said, well, he's really good. He sings great stuff, blah, blah, blah. So we tried it out, and I figured, yeah, why not? It could work. And it was a little more commercial in the second half of the 80s, you know, a little more. So I was thinking, well, let's give it a try, you know, see what happens. But the songs were in the wrong key for him, so it's really... and I didn't like it at all at the time. I liked the record, but I think we should have lowered the key a little. I mean, Johan today, he's in a band called Colorstone, and they're great, and he sings great today. You know, mature and really good, and you can really tell he's a good singer. But that was something at the time that just, it wasn't all there, you know, and we were young too, you know, even if you get some experience, it's still experiment. Music is, you know, you never know what is going to come out. So,
that's true.
Yeah, so I think I like the music. I mean, I don't hate it. It's just that it didn't come out that it was supposed to do. You know? Yeah.
True. Well, you know, the singer for most bands is the focal point. That's what people concentrate on. It's also the voice of the band. So, you know, with Shaking Brains and you being the singer, people so identified your voice with the sound of Silver Mountain. So, when you change your singer for the second record and then for the third record, you think that kind of hurt the band or set it back because people couldn't identify with one lead vocalist?
Maybe. I mean, but it was like a divider there. People either liked my vocals or they didn't like it. You know, it was a lot of stuff like that, and I didn't want to. It took a lot of work because I was, even if I had a light voice, you know, had an attitude. So there's a lot of attitude in my singing. And you know Bob Nalbandian?
Yes, passed away yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, he told me once when we were going to do the Breaking Chains in 2000, he said, "No, you should sing in it. You should sing it with that pissed off attitude that you had on the early demos and stuff like that." And I go, okay. But it was different. This is like so it was 20 years later, and the voice matured, and I became better singer, so it's easier to do the reunion record in 2001 with Anders and Jens. It was kind of easy in a way, you know, because I've been doing music so long, so now it's like easier, just the way it was.
Well, the Breaking Chains record, you re-recorded and reworked a lot of the older songs too. Did you get them to where you felt they should have been maybe 20 years before that?
Say what?
On the Breaking Chains record, you re-recorded a lot of the older music that you had written, you know, from the 80s. So when you had a chance to revisit those songs, did you get them to the point that you said, hey, this is what they should have sounded like, you know, back in 1985 or 83 or 81?
Yeah, I think they were pretty close to the way they sounded back then. You know, it's just better sounds and maybe a little tighter, a little more mature. Anders, he didn't play as much as a drummer because when we did the first record, he was totally wild and all over the place. And in the beginning, I thought, when he tried out Silver Mountain, he said, well, do I get the job? I said, yes, if you can play a little harder and not play drum solos all the time. Because he played drum solos in the verses and stuff. And I couldn't stop him. I mean, I got him to play harder, but I couldn't stop him from being that wild and energetic psycho that he was, you know. So I just said, fuck it, you know. This metal, because we have a drummer that is like all over the place, and so it kind of became a part of the sound, and I started I liked it, you know, and so that's
Well, a lot went on. Between Breaking Chains and Roses and Champagne, there was a lot that went on. Did the band officially break up after Roses and Champagne? Because I know in the '90s, you were here in the U.S. out in L.A. and you had Legacy going with Martin Anderson towards the late '80s, and you had your own band going, and there was a lot of stuff happening for you musically. But was Silver Mountain over and done with? Did you feel like it ran its course, or did you just kind of put it on the back burner for a while?
Well, in the late 80s, I noticed that I'm not getting anywhere here in Sweden. I'd done a couple of records and some tours, but it wasn't enough. I wanted more. And I was thinking, well, maybe I should move to LA like Ingrid did, but he did it early, and it kind of bummed me out that I didn't go there, because I could be like, oh, have you heard of other Swedish guy? Back then. But when I lived here, I was thinking, no, the stuff we do is good enough, and we're gonna make it big. It's gonna happen. But it never happened, because it doesn't happen in Malmo, Sweden. You have to go out there to America and London and stuff like that. Actually, in '85, I moved to London, and I was supposed to. It was close that I started a project with Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy, because they were playing here in Malmo every year, and I saw them like 10 times, and always hanging backstage, and became friends with them. So I moved to London, and I contacted their manager, John Salter, and I said, hey, it's Jonas, we met there, and blah, blah. Yeah. I said, I had the Universe album. I took away the vocals, and I just put guitar on the whole album, like a solo thing. So I went to London, and I met John Salter, and I said, well, can you give this to... We talked, because I was trying different things. I split up Silver Mountain after because when Crystal left, I figured I don't want to look for another singer again. Yeah. I was just fed up with it. So I said, well, I'm going to try stuff in England. And then John Salter said, well, I give the tape to Phil, and we'll see if he likes it or not. He's doing another project right now. So let me talk to him, and we'll see what happens. Okay. A week later, he called me and said, yeah, Phil listened to tape. He likes it. And he said he's going to finish this project he's doing right now. And then we contact you, and then you guys can meet and see if you can work together. I said, great. But at the same time, I got a phone call from the record company and say, hey, you need to get your band going. You're going to Japan on a tour. I go, oh yeah, so why don't I know about this? Well, and I said, well, you do know. And so, yeah, and how are we getting? Are we like walking to Japan? No, I got money for you here for tickets and everything. Just take care of everything and have the travel agency call me, and I'll pay for it. And we're going in October to Japan. This was in late August. So I just had to call home. I called the Paris study, and I said, hey, get a band together. We're going to Japan in 2 months. What? Yeah. All right. So we did. And yeah, that's...
That's when you recorded the live record, too, the Live in Japan record.
Yeah, because I was thinking, if we go to Japan, we have to do a live record. I mean, it's made in Japan. I mean, that's where it all started. So it's like the whole thing comes back to me, I was thinking.
Yeah, well, you did that, and then obviously that led into the Roses and Champagne era of the band. But did you ever get back with Phil? Was there ever any talk about that happening again, or was it just over after that?
Well, after Rose and Champagne, we did a new trial. We were supposed to go to Poland, and we were supposed to Greece, and we almost got a deal with EMI in Greece, because I walked into a music store or a record store. I was in Greece. My girlfriend, she was working there, modeling, and so I went down visiting, and we were hanging out. And I went to this record store, and suddenly I saw one of my records. I think it was Universe. That was in there, and I showed the guy in the store and say, "Hey, how much is that?" Yeah, and then it's like 200 drachmas or whatever they had. And I said, "Well, that's me." "Oh yeah, it is. Oh, cool." And the guy goes, "You should. I know the president of EMI Records, so you should come with me, and we go up there and talk to him." "Sure." So I had rented one of those Vespas or mopeds, drove around. I drove out to EMI, and I walked up, and the guy was there, and we walked in, and we met the president, and I played him a song from whatever I had. I don't remember what it was I had at the time, but I played some tape, and after hearing one song, he's like, "Okay, so what do you want?" "Well, record deal, maybe." "Okay." And then we started talking, and we did some agreement, I think, but they didn't. They said everybody else, EMI in the world, they have their own big band, that's what we're gonna have too, because they were like EMI Greece, and he figured out that we would be their big band, but I don't remember what happened then. We released the record, but it only got released in Greece, I think, through EMI. But we were thinking the whole world, it's great to have them behind us. But it didn't happen. I guess they didn't go for the Greek thing. But that was Roses and Champagne, so maybe it was the wrong record. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, like kids today, or people that have come, into being in the last 20 years, they only know the internet, they know social media, YouTube and stuff like that. They don't realize what it was like in the 80s when bands had to make their way through where they came from. You had to start locally and then try to branch out and go further and further. And you had to do that all on your own if you didn't have a record label to support you. So it was so difficult back then, but it seemed like in a way it was easier for bands to actually get heard, because today there's so much to go through on the internet that you couldn't find the Silver Mountain if you wanted to. But back then, the band always popped up. I mean, I remember getting Shaking Brains here in my record store when it came out in 1983 from the import section. So it did get all over the place.
There is, we are re-releasing them right now, right?
Yeah, I think next year they're coming out, right, in March?
Yeah, they should come out in March, but then there was some trouble at the record company, so it took long. So they are coming out probably on vinyl tomorrow, and on CD last week we got them. It took an extra half a year to get it out. But that's going to be more. We're working on releasing the single from '79. With bonus tracks from that era. So I'm working on that right now, going through old cassette tapes and stuff and see what I can find.
That would be great. Man of No Present Existence. That would be great to see that on vinyl again.
Yeah. But it's going to be on the LP, but I think we will keep the cover like the single, but it's going to be a big one, and add songs and pictures and stuff, story, whatever,
That's going to be fantastic. I remember, I want to say it was 10 or 12 years ago, I remember you guys did a reunion show with multiple lineups of the band. That must have been some challenge to put that together.
Yeah, well, it actually started with a Facebook group that was called We Who Wants to See Silver Mountain at the theater in the park, in Malmo in August. And I saw it, I just kind of started with Facebook. So this was new to me. I saw this group, and I saw, 5 members and 20 members and then 40 members and 75 members, and then suddenly 500 members, that people that want to see. I go, if 500 people in my hometown wants to see me play there, I can do that and have the 500 come, and that would be a great evening. But it expanded, and it ended up being 1,500 people came and filled the place, and I decided, okay, let's do it. So actually, Anders Johansson was supposed to be there as well. He said, "Yeah, great idea," And Jens, he didn't know yet, because he was out with Stradivarius and Anders were out with Hammerfall, but they didn't have anything booked for that day. So they say, we're in, and cool. But then suddenly Hammerfall came. Well, we are booked in Ukraine, in Kyiv, for some show. We need you to do it. They say, can't we move it, because we're doing the Silver Mountain thing. No, we can't. We have to do it, yeah, so he dropped out. They couldn't say, he was in Hammerfall and they were touring the world, so it's kind of hard to drop that for one show, so we did it. I took in Mats Bergens, who wrote a lot of the lyrics for me, because we were friends here in Malmö, and he was in the early stage of Silver Mountain, right after the single in '79. Mats became the drummer of Silver Mountain, and he lasted for a year. But with Mats, what was I going to say about that? I talk too much. I forget what I was going to Yeah. So for the reunion, I took him in instead of Anders. I said, well, you play the songs that Anders was supposed to play, the songs from Shaking Brains, and then Martin, who's playing on the Universe album, he was in, so he played the Universe songs, and Christer were there singing, and Johan, we did some Rose and Champagne, and Morgan and Ingmar for the single, and that was the biggest moment there, because the audience flipped out. When we played the single, everybody went, wow, that's cool, the original from '79.
It was a great live performance, and I have a copy of that cassette, the VHS, and it's always on TV too, on Pluto TV. They show it all the time.
Yeah? On where?
On Pluto. It's Pluto, Pluto TV. It's like
I know of that. Yeah.
It's like an app on the thing, but they always show it on there, and I love watching it. And it just brings us so many memories, hearing all those songs with those different lineups put together. And I was like, wow, I can't believe he actually made this, pull this off, because it seemed like it was such a big task to accomplish.
Yeah, I had actually, it was an old friend of mine. Our parents were friends when we were kids. Elsa is her name. And we were playing when we were kids, and then when we grew up, we became friends in adult life too, And she and her brother, they were the ones who started this Facebook group. They say, well, we want to see you play. I'm going, forget about it, But since it added up with so many people, I figured, no, well, that's cool. We do it. Let's do it, And it was when she helped me a lot with a lot of stuff, and she did most of it, but I kind of stepped in at the end to pull off different things, just to get the right PA system and stuff like that. Figure out how we were supposed to do with everything, with the whole arrangements around it, and I knew what to do, but I put her to work, kind of. I go, well, we need this, and then we need to do that, and some stuff I took care of because it was easier,
Sure. For that time period that you were in LA, I think I remember hearing that there were a couple of bands that you were almost getting ready to join or trying to join that were pretty well known or established bands. And I remember hearing something about you working with Graham Bonner or recording it. I don't know if that was around the time you put the Classica record out, or you were working on the Classica record, but were you doing something with Graham Bonner at the time that was involving Alcatraz or something similar to that?
Well, Gary and I, we met through some mutual friend and became friends and started jamming. And so he and I and a singer called Randy and a drummer, his name was uh, Tony. 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 I forgot his last. Tony Davis, I think was his name. But anyway, he was a drummer, and we had a singer, Randy, and Gary and I, and we started jamming, you know. And I wrote songs as always, spitting them out, you know. And then one day Gary came to me and said, "Well, maybe we should try to do Alcatraz again with you on guitar." My wife said that to me, and why don't you do Alcatraz with Jonas? I mean, you know, you guys get along and you play. And so we talked to Jan, and Jan was game, and then we said, "Well, let's call Graham Bonnet." He was in Australia, but at the same time, he already committed to Blackthorn.
Oh, okay.
And he said, "I don't want to do two bands at the same time." But we met on Cat and the Fiddle in LA and talked about it. He was a very funny guy, I thought, Graham Bonnet. But it never happened then. And when it didn't happen, I had already written a whole album for Alcatraz. So actually, my first solo album, number one, that was supposed to be Alcatraz.
Oh, okay.
All the songs.
Yeah, I knew
the songs were written. Yeah, the songs were written for Alcatraz and Graham Bonnet, but since he passed on it, well, he didn't. We just went out and had a beer or a coffee or whatever we had, and we're talking about it, and he thought it was cool, but no, I only want to do one at a time, and that was kind of sad because that would be great for me to end up in Alcatraz. I think, you know, just for attention. But no, it is. So we at the same time, Per Stadin, he was releasing a Snake Charmer solo kind of album in Japan, and Bob Nalbandian, he talks to Japan, and they say, "Well, now when Per is releasing, what is Jonas doing?" He said, "Well, he's doing an album." So it was quick. "Oh, we want that, you know." So I changed it. So I asked Gary and Jan, is it okay if we call this Jonas Hansson Band because Japan wants a record? And they were, yeah, sure, let's do it, you know. And so we were looking for singers. And again, Bob Nalbandian, he said, "I got a great guy, you know. His name's Mike Stone. He sings in a punk band called Clover." Okay, yeah, they're playing on Saturday, so let's go check him out. Yeah, so we went, and he was doing his thing, and I go, "Yeah, it sounds good." And so he came in singing on the stuff, and it sounded great. It's a little like Graham Bonnet in a way, but you know, powerful with a little rasp on it, can sing the high notes and sing the low. So we just did a record.
Yeah. Was that around the same time that you started getting involved with soundtracks and movies and doing more work behind the scenes like engineering and producing and stuff like that?
Well, I was engineering producing already because I was in LA for some time, but I ran out of money, so I need a job and looked for the studio work, you know, and I ended up in a studio as a producer, engineer, studio musician, everything. I did a lot of stuff there, but then the 90s hit, so guitars weren't like so. People didn't want guitars anymore. Yeah. It was Nirvana, and so my whole world kind of collapsed there because that was my intention to conquer the world with my guitar. But now nobody cared about guitars anymore. But there were always some people. So in the studio, I was doing a lot of studio work, playing on people's stuff. I probably play on, I don't know, up to 100 different records, you know, different people. And the movie stuff came later. Uh, uh, in the end of the 90s, I think. I don't know when those movies. I did Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Legend of Zorro. I did the trailers, the music for the trailers.
Is it similar to writing songs for for heavy metal or rock and roll, or is it a different approach?
Yeah. No, this was like film music. Yeah. And like how film music is.
Yeah.
And okay, but it came later. This was in Zorro is in 05, so I probably started doing the movie stuff 03 maybe. Did a lot of different, some big movies, Hide and Seek, Zorro, and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and some smaller movies, Scary Movie 4, I did for that. But it was trailers, so when we went to the movies, you never knew. You go to the movies and suddenly my music came on. I was sitting there. I go, wow, okay. And I was just cool, and good money too. I mean, compared to the music, the movie business was different.
Yeah.
It's like 10 times the money, So, but then one day my agent decided that I'm not going to sell music anymore. I'm going to sell houses now. So, see ya. Okay. I found a new agent, and he wasn't that good as she was first. She was really good, and sometimes the phone rang, and I was like, ho, 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 it's Christmas time. Santa comes early this year. Oh, yeah, and then she sold a song to somewhere, and I got a lot of money. They pay a lot in the movie business. So that was cool. But I started like Classica, which is, it was the working name, and I kept it. I got inspired to do that after I saw Immortal Beloved with Gary Oldman. Yeah. I was taken by that movie. It was like, wow, it's fantastic. And when I came out from the theater, I go, I have to do something like that. Something movie-esque, film music meets me. So I just started writing songs, classical songs and movie style songs, and I did about 80 songs in a year. And after a year, I go, okay, let's pick out the best ones and make a CD. And there were 17 songs that I picked out, and then I just took them, and they were all made by MIDI and stuff like that. So I had all the songs, and I go, okay, now I'm going to put a guitar on top of this. So I just added a guitar, and sometimes it was no rules, just do whatever you like. I told myself, and so I did. And I wish I might do something similar now because of all the equipment, the good samples and all that. It can be more real. I think the sounds, this was in the mid 90s. It wasn't there yet. Today you have all these orchestra samples you can use. Just a different different way.
The technology is definitely more advanced today to make a lot of things happen that you really couldn't do, 20-something years ago.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I mean, you seem like you have such a wealth of songs that you create and come up with. I mean, do you feel like your best music just comes out of you without much thought or thinking about it?
Yeah, I can make up music anytime. But sometimes I hear stuff in my head and I go, oh, that's really good. And then I pick up my phone and I sing it so I can get back to it. And I have I have so much stuff, probably thousands of stuff, thousands of songs that are just little samples, but ideas, you can develop. Because a lot of times I realize what, if I come up with it and I just record some of it, I can later know where I was going, but just by hearing that little thing I recorded, then I can go, okay, how was I thinking here? Yeah, and then it just comes back. And I have to do that. I have to do some more music, but I've been busy. I do a lot of music videos and stuff like that for people, and working with companies. And I went to China, I went to Africa with documentary filming and stuff like that. So it's kind of, I think all the filming kind of pays the bills, and it's fun too. Music is so tough. But I wanted.
Music is definitely a tough business. You chose the toughest one to get into, but you see so many bands out there today like, well, we don't care about the money. We just want to keep writing music, but that's fine. But you do need the money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was so sure that I was going to be really rich and the biggest star in the world. I'm going to live in a castle in France. That was my plan when I was 17. But that pushed me to become a good player, I think, if I might say that, because I wanted to be the best, and just I got lucky too. I got a job in Sweden. We have a program I don't know if they have it. Well, they still have it, but it was more common back in the day. And it's like the youth, the unemployment center. They say, well, we have a job for you here. You can have it if you want it.
Yeah.
And the government pays for it. So you just go there. And I ended up in a school as a teacher assistant. And the principal asked me, so what are you good at? What do you want to do? Well, I like music a lot. I can do math and physics, because they were I was fairly good at that, but music was number one. So he said, yeah, go in there to the music teacher, and he'll take care of you, and you can work there and help him out, and we'll see what else we can do here on this school. So I went into him, and he goes, yeah, I got a big budget for buying stuff. Come here. And he opened the door, and there was this room with guitars on the wall and drum kits and organs and pianos. And it's like everything in that room. Yeah. And I go, wow, can I be in here and try some guitars and stuff? Yeah. So I started in the morning. I got there. I went into that room, picked the guitar, and I started practicing. And then around 10 o'clock or 11, he came in, the teacher, and said, well, we got to sing now. Can you grab an acoustic and come out? And here's the book. And we're going to play these songs. Sure. So I spent 1 hour with them playing. He played piano and singing, and the kids were singing. And then when that was over, I went back into the room and practiced. And I worked there for a whole year. So I practiced guitar in that room every day, like at least 5-6 hours, at least. And then I got home and we practiced with the band for another 3-4 hours. So I played 10 hours a day for a whole year. And I noticed every couple of months, I'm getting fast now. And I was really into play fast. I wanted to, because I found Uli Roth. Blackmore, he was great. He was a great, I thought. But Uli Roth, he took it further. His playing was just, in a way, impossible back then. And I go, I want to try that, because he did big intervals in his soloing. And I wasn't sure how he did it, because I couldn't see him play. I could just hear it. So I started to play along the neck, from the bottom to the top and playing the intervals that way, like stuff like that, just going up and down. And it was real hard because the hand has to fly over the neck. But I started doing it more and more, and suddenly I just did it, and I got used to it, to jump from second fret up to 14th fret. It's like in no time, in a way. So, that's how I developed. But then we got a year after that. That's when we got signed. So that's who worked. And Anders and Jens were great players. Anders, they were really jazzy. I mean, they were into jazz and stuff, and played very light. So I had to force, especially Anders, to play hard. You have to hit it like you mean it. If you're going to play metal, and he did, and he did great. But he never stopped playing his drum solos.
And that was his thing. Do you really think there's a chance that you might get back to putting out some music? Because I think Before the Storm was the last Silver Mountain thing, and then Valhallarama, with your own band back in 2006. So, I mean, I know Before the Storm, I think, was a lot of older songs that you just kind of re-put out there again. But any chance on getting new music from you on any of those two fronts?
Yeah, I think, I want to do something. And I actually do have found a Swedish singer. I'm not going to mention his name right now, but I think he will be perfect for Silver Mountain. He can sing high, and he's got the rasp and real strong, just great singer.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that if it happens. One of the rumors that's always gone around for the last 40 or 50 years is that Yngwie Malmsteen was in Silver Mountain, which he never was, but yet every interview that somebody does where they put these two bands together, you and him, they always say that he was a part of the band, which he really wasn't, was he?
No. What happened was we didn't know of him. He was nobody like we were, but we made most noise. One of the bands in Sweden that made most noise in the beginning. So when we played, it's like we were in I will get back to Yngwie, but we played in a competition. And there was a lot of different bands. Most of them were like popcorn bands, pop. Yeah. The people, the audience is eating popcorn and enjoying it. But we were like brutal, And we won that one competition in the city. There was a lot of bands. And afterwards, I asked one of the judges, why did we win? And he said, well, you came out on stage, 4 young guys, but then you started playing, you sounded like 400 guys. And we were blown away, and we just said, well, fuck, this band has got to win, Okay, cool, because that's what we wanted. We wanted to blow them away, that was the whole thing with playing music, So anyway, so Silver Mountain got out there, and our demos were circulating. That's probably what you heard, one of those demos. And one of those demos ended up with Yngwie. And Tally Savage was his girlfriend at the time, back in the day. We talked. We were in the party in 82, and that's when Yngwie were in Malmo to record his demo to send to Mike Varney, and he wanted to use the best backup band, and that was Silver Mountain, so it was Anders Jensen Pell. They backed him up and played his songs for this demo he recorded for Mike Varney, and that was it. It wasn't anything else. He wasn't in the Silver Mountain. I lent him my band to back him up, pretty much. And he was supposed to, he had his own band, but I guess they weren't, I don't know if they had access to recordings or whatever, but Tali, she told me on a party that how it all happened, and it was Yngwie's friends. They came, listen to this Silver Mountain, cool band from Malmo. I don't want to listen. He said, I'm not interested. That's what she told me. That what he said at the time. But then when his friends left, he took the tapes and put them in and started listening. He didn't want to show that he was listening to the Malmo band, Silver Mountain, but he did. And then when he heard it, he go, shit, that keyboard player. He got amazed by Jens, So that's why he came down, because he wanted to have that kind of keyboards in his recordings. I guess there were no one in Stockholm that could pull it off at the time. So, but then he did his demo, and then he ended up in Steeler and Alcatraz, and then he was going to do his solo record. So he called Jens, hey, do you want to play my record? We were supposed to do the second album, Universe, at the time. This was before that, but we were supposed to start the second album. So Anders and Jens were supposed to be on that, but then Yngwie got fired from Alcatraz, and then he started a new band. And Anders were in LA at the time, just visiting Jens and Yngwie, hanging out. But since Yngwie was going to start a new band, Anders were there, and they just put it together. Yeah, okay, so we have drummer, keyboard player, and guitar player. And then he called Marcel, I guess. So they needed a singer, and then they found Jessica Soto. But he did I think Jens played on the first one with Barrymore Ballo, the drummer. But on the second one, that's when Anders came in,
Yeah.
Because he went, and that first Yngwie solo wasn't band; it was just a solo record. He was supposed to still be in Alcatraz.
Nobody could be in a band with Yngwie, because Yngwie is the
Yeah.
But when his first solo record came out, I couldn't help but hear the comparisons to Silver Mountain. They say it was neoclassical, but you guys were doing that long before he ever started doing anything like that. And I think he kind of got a little bit of a sound and style from what you were doing.
Yeah. I think we were the first band doing neoclassical, but we didn't get. Suddenly, Yngwie became big in America and in the whole world, and the reporters here got really annoying because so how does it sound? Well, you and Yngwie, you kind of play the same style, so are you influenced by him? And I told him, hey, listen, I came up with this style myself, and suddenly one day I heard Yngwie, and I go, oh, he's like me, kind of. Because I was the only one playing classical things and playing fast too, locally here. I've never heard it, and so I was impressed that there's another guy doing the same thing, But he got big, and he got there at the right time in LA, People were impressed, and what it's like when I talk to Gianni Vina. He loved Yngwie. He said, well, we fill arenas because we have Yngwie.
Yeah.
But Bonnet, as I heard it, was that he wanted to be the star. And Yngwie wanted to be a star. But Yngwie just took the role as the star without asking anyone else and being young, And I understand him that he did that. I would have done that too. But there was a lot of fun stories about their relationship. And I guess they got tired of him stealing all the attention somehow. And maybe being difficult. I met him a lot of times in my life. And he's always been a cool guy. So when people say he's an asshole and stuff like that, I don't buy that. I think it's people provoking, coming up, oh, you think you are someone, and he goes, fuck you, which he's supposed to do. I mean, I've had fans come up to me and bitching at me. And I go, fuck off. I mean, they'll come here and pretend you're a fan and then bitch at me, Be cool, But sometimes they feel like some fans do that sometimes. They think they are, because they're fans, they're allowed to
say what they want. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not. I'm a person with feelings too. And yeah. So, but with Yngwie, no, he was never in the band. He was in Malmo recording his demo that got him the Steeler gig.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then after that, because they never played any Silver Mountain songs, as far as I know, I don't think so.
No.
And I mean, Silver Mountain was my band. I wrote all the songs. I wrote everything, except some lyrics, because I needed help with it, and I was more into the music part than the lyric part, because I was like, if you're into lyrics, well, write a book, but if you're into music, write an album.
That's right.
So it was different,
Yeah, and you have done that. And Jonas, I'm not going to keep you. I mean, I appreciate you talking with me today. I mean, such a big fan of everything you've done musically, and I hope you get back to us soon. Maybe next year for Lucky, or the year after that. But time is getting short for us on this earth, so stop putting out some music.
Yeah, now I play guitar. I had a problem when we did a reunion thing in 2010. I was practicing a lot because figure my whole hometown gonna be in the audience and judging me. So I had to be good. So I practiced a lot, but it hurt me. My what do you call them? Those things that hold tissue that holds your all the things in your hand and your arm, the veins,
the ligaments.
Yeah. Those were moving. When I practiced a lot, the stuff started moving and pulling. So it pulled so much that I couldn't move my hands. And I found a guy here in Malmo who had a technique to loosen that up, and I heard testimonies from people. Well, I went there and my foot was so bad I couldn't walk on it. I was there for half an hour and then I jogged home, because he fixed it and the pain was gone. He could see, he looked at your skin and he fixed it. So I went there and he fixed me, and after three days he came back and I called him. I said, it's back. I said, well, come back. So I took my guitar and went to him to the place, and I put the guitar on. I thought, this is what I do. I start playing, and he was watching me, and he go, okay, and then suddenly my fingers locked.
Yeah.
And I told him, they locked now. I said, okay, let me see. So he looked at my hand, he looked at my arm, and said, oh, okay. And he started touching it with his tips of his fingers. It was just like he was scratching it somehow, but he went on for hours, And then I went back, and suddenly all the guitar playing came back, and I go, well, I can play again, and we did the show. It worked out great. So I knew every time I practiced too much, I go to him. And a year later, we got invited to play at Headbangers Open Air in Germany.
Yeah.
And same thing there. I started practicing, and they got bad, and he fixed me. And I go, oh, I'm so lucky I have him, can fix me up. But then half a year later or something, he got cancer and died. And I asked him, don't you have anyone else that's doing this? This was before he was dying. I asked him about it, because if he's the only one in the world that can do this, we need more people like him, because he was fantastic. And he said, well, I try to explain to people, but they can't see it. He could see it. He looked at your skin and go, okay, I see here. And then he started touching it. It was really fantastic. So I didn't have anyone. But then I noticed, if I can't play hours a day anymore, it's just not happening. But if I play 15, 20 minutes every day, it will bring me up to where I am when I play as good as I can play, and I can stay there. If I just play 15 minutes, it keeps it up. I don't lose it. So I found that over the years that I play every day 15, 20 minutes, but that's enough to keep me up, Because I was thinking, what if someone calls me, and say, hey, we want you to join us. And it will take a month or so or two to get back. But if I keep it up all the time, I can join anyone, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
And I like playing too. I like being on top of it when I am. But it's tough. It's tough to, especially now getting older. You lose some of the. I don't know what it is, but you're losing something when you get older.
Absolutely. I lost quite a few things that I can't get back, so I'm still trying to find the right guy to get them back.
Yeah, but just have to do your best. But I still, when I see, I see there's a lot of guitar players out there, and I saw one guy. He couldn't be more than 25, and he was giving guitar lessons, and he was teaching stuff that I invented, 50 years ago. Like because Richie Blackmore, he did boom, 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 those. Well, that was sweeps, little sweeps. And I started doing those in the late 70s and stuff like that. It didn't exist. And I have it on demos when I do stuff like that. And now I see people explaining to people how they're going to play that stuff that they learned. But Yngwie did it too, and he made it famous. People, but it didn't all come from him, There were probably more players out in the world, other guitarists that never made it. That was like Randy Rhoads. He was one of those guys who played classical stuff and played fast, but he died.
Yeah.
But he was a little special, and Uli was probably the best, I think. But then I liked people like John McLaughlin and Aldi Meola and those guys, because I saw them on TV, three guitarists, Aldi Meola, Paco de Lucia, and John McLaughlin. And it was so cool because, Paco de Lucia with his fingers playing flamenco stuff, and Aldi Meola picking his fast stuff. But then when McLaughlin came, it's like, it was like you started a blender. And his choice of notes, because you can really tell this is really hard to play, this stuff he's playing, because I was listening, I could catch the speed somehow, but the notes, the combination of notes he was playing in that speed, that was so out there, fusion, but I liked it because he was a guitar player, so I studied him a little, and one day I noticed, because someone told me about the circular picking, when you're playing circles to play real fast. And I was practicing, and one day I played real fast, and I was thinking, shit, this is fast. And I looked at my right hand, and it went in circles, the picking technique. And I didn't try to, but that's what happens when you reach a certain speed. You can't do it up and down. It automatically goes into circles. And I saw now a couple of years ago, some people were discussing it on the internet, talking about it, like, yeah, you're supposed to play in circles to play real fast, and people are practicing. And I was just looking at them and go, this is not something you practice. This is what happens when you play real fast. It just does it. You don't have to practice. You practice up and down, but when you reach a certain speed, they start going in circles. And it was so fun to look at my hand, and it went in circles. I go, wow, I reached that speed now. Kind of cool.
Absolutely. That's a great story.
Yeah. But... yeah, I can talk forever. I mean, I've been like that So you have to tell me when we're going to stop. Well, you tried to.
We're gonna wrap it up now because I'm gonna play a couple of
Yeah.
songs, and the show's only 2 hours, and the interview's already over. So I want to get some music on too for people to have.
Yeah.
But it is such a pleasure to talk to you. I'm such a fan for so many decades now. It makes me feel
Yeah,
old,
yeah.
but you've been giving us great music all this time, and try to keep it up. I need more music from you.
Yeah, it will come. I will.
Right.
I had I have to mention this. A couple of years ago, I was tired. I was really tired, and for a long time, I went to the doctor, and they said, "Well, stop smoking, go to the gym, and blah blah." I go, "No, this is something else," and I forced him to. I'm not leaving until you find what's wrong with me because I couldn't function. I was tired.
Yeah.
And they sent me and said, well, let's do heart stress. So I had to go on a bike, and they put some nuclear stuff in my veins to see where my blood was going. And I had clogged artery. I did a triple bypass.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was really traumatic because it's. But at the same time, I remember I was never upset. I was in the hospital, and I had all this like ammonia and collapses in my lungs, but I was still like me, all the time. And after the operation, I was laying in bed, and I was beat up. My chest had been opened up, and I was on drugs for the pain, and I was laying there in bed, and I go, hey, wait a second, I can think. It's because the blood came to my brain, and suddenly my brain started going, oh, I got to do this, and suddenly I had a lot of energy, even though I was beat up from the surgery. But that was because of blood. I got blood to my brain.
Yeah.
And since then, it's 2 years ago, so it's been a tough time coming back. But I'm back, and that's just part of life, But they say, well, you've been smoking your whole life, and so that's the problem, Started smoking when I was 14, and it clogged up my arteries. And then they said, no, you can't smoke anymore. But I said, you're fixing me, so I got new arteries and stuff like that, so I can start over again.
Yeah.
I mean, I smoke for another 40 years. No. They were. I said, well, we'll see. Yeah.
So they cleaned you up, they fixed you up. You can start fresh all over again.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So.
It was a pleasure talking to you, man. Really, I had such a good time today, and got a lot of information about Silver Mountain and other stuff. And I want you to have a very happy New Year, and hopefully 2025 will be the year we get music from you.
Yeah, to you too. Same. Do you have enough? Are you gonna edit something?
No, it's just gonna go right up on the air next week when the show comes back. We're off for the holidays, but then next week it'll be up, and I'll send you everything.
So you keep all my stupid talk too.
I can take it out if you want.
Yeah, well, if I say something that's embarrassing, just take it out.
You didn't say nothing embarrassing. It was perfect.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
You take care, my friend. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, you too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
There you go, shaking brains. What a great interview that was. Holy cow. If every interview was like this every week, we'd only need one guest on per week. But that doesn't happen. Full of information, full of facts, full of stories. That's what I love. When you have a guest on that you could just say hello to, and an hour later they're still talking about something you said, I absolutely love it. He was a great guest to have on. And I was such a big fan of Silver Mountain. I mean, when I first heard them in the early 80s, I mean, to me, there was nothing else going on like them and what they were doing. And I said that to him during the interview. I never heard music like that before. Today, it's kind of common. You hear a lot of bands today. A lot of these symphonic bands, they've kind of taken what, Silver Mountain did almost 50 years ago. So, great band. And hopefully they will get back to making more music. I would love that. But there is a video. I think it's on, I believe, Tubi, the app, the Tubi app, Tubi. If you go there, you could actually watch the whole Silver Mountain show that we were talking about, the video that they filmed. And it's great because it has all eras of the band and it sounds phenomenal and it is a full house. Beautiful outdoor place. It looked like the Acropolis almost. So check it out. Go to Tubi. I believe it's on Tubi. If not Tubi, Pluto. One of those apps. And it's free to watch. Just download the app. All right, we're going to wrap it up here tonight. Next week, Jeannie Ann Smith from Avatarium is going to be on the show. We might have another guest on. I'm working on it. We're trying to get all the lineup squared away for the month of January. But right now, Jeannie is all we have. So don't forget to tune in next week. I want to thank Jonas for being on tonight's show. Humongous Silver Mountain fan. Love those guys. So let's close it out with a little, let me see, what can we do here? How about we do some Adam Criff? We've been talking a lot about Venom Inc. Let's get back to Tony Dolan's original band. Teutonic Pain. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. I will see you next Sunday night. Good night and God bless.
Long days they forced the wicked ways and searched the fallen lands. As night would come, the hauntings had begun as if to someone's hands. The lights would die before the naked eyes ascended from the past. Like Julius' son, the evil had begun, they were sentenced here to thrash. Lost inside their brainwashed minds, demonic souls in pain. As they try, as they die, someone hit dead in this pain.
This is Debbie Gunn of Sentinel Beast, and you're listening to Heavy Metal Mayhem with a Big Cheese.